Hello. Hi everyone. Welcome to Guiding Voice podcast series. The Guiding Voice for a better future. This podcast is to help students and young professionals to shape their careers. Thank you for tuning in. This is Naveen and I'm with my co-host Sudhakar. Dear listeners, in this episode we want to cover a very interesting topic, looking at the problem through customers' or users' eyes. As quoted by Roy H. Williams, the first step in exceeding your customers' expectations is to know those expectations. Alright, so today's conversation will help us better understand customer expectations by looking at the problem through their eyes. And we are pleased to welcome a proven industry leader, Sai, to talk about this intriguing topic.
Sai Prasad Potharaju is working as Chief Technology Officer in the digital era of one of the leading industry sectors in India. Sai is an alumna of XLRI, IIT and KITS, and he worked with major giants like General Electric, TCS and Philips, wherein he played various roles ranging from program manager to vice president of technical product management. A business outcome oriented global leader with more than 23 years of extensive experience leading technology-enabled solutions. Sai is highly regarded for his transparency, simplifying complexities, collaboration, and his passion towards leading, learning, and coaching. Sai, welcome again to our show today.
Hey, thank you. Greetings, everyone. Thanks for having me here. It's an exciting time where I understand that everyone is going through the COVID situations, learning your own way on the do's and don'ts of being safe. And this is the right time for us to have a conversation like this and looking to the problems through the customer eyes. And then how do we even start about thinking about providing the solutions before we actually provide the solution?
Thank you, Sai. Let's get into the discussion. We all agree that customer is the king. So how important is it to understand customers' problems?
I think that's a great question. And every one of us in the IT industry, and not just the IT industry, any industry, need to ask that what is the problem we are trying to solve before understanding the technology that we're going to use. For the students and the newcomers into this industry, the very first thing that we try to understand is what skills we have and what technologies we know, and is a resume completely filled or not. But when we actually step into the industry and try to solve a problem, we often notice that the solution that we are providing is rarely used by the end users because their perspective of the problem is completely different from the solution that we have created. So it's important for us to know the customer view of a problem so that our solution also meets in providing a solution to that view rather than a technology-based solution in totality.
Great, Sai. How can we differentiate ourselves as a service provider, through our customer experience?
I think there are multiple ways that we can do it. The first and foremost is to first listen. Listening is a great habit which we all need to inculcate as youngsters and new into this industry. Are we listening to the customer problem correctly? And are we understanding the context of the problem? I'll give you a simple example where today we have a lot of apps that are built in on your smartphones. Every app has a context. Now, there is a context in which we use a certain app. And based on the context of the app has been designed in a way that it can be leveraged by the customers. So for us, when we are building applications without knowing the customer point of view and the context in which the problem occurs for the customer, we are giving a standard solution which may not be of any use to the customer. So the first attribute I would say is listening to the customer problem. And the second one is, whenever we are talking about customer problem, there is an amount of sentiment attached to it. And we need to be empathetic towards that problem and the context in which that empathy and problem occur together. And understanding that is the key before we even talk about what is the solutioning. And often we jump into the solution with the customers, saying that if, for example, if a customer calls us and say, hey, I'm facing so-and-so issue, we assume a lot of things, and then we also get into solution mode immediately. But that's the time where we need to take a pause, ask the relevant questions, listen to understand the problem, and then formulate the solution, then go and present to the customer. So some of these steps are inherently built into the process of understanding the customer problem, but we rarely do it in most cases, because of which we land into a lot of rework that needs to be done on the IT systems.
Thank you, Sai. After understanding the context and listening to their pains and gains, how to put across our solutions from the customer perspective?
There are a couple of ways to do it. I mean, I'll start with a simple example in any of the corporate sectors. An IT solution should cater to one of the three parameters that I would look at. Either it should have an impact on the top line of the company, or it should have an impact on the bottom line of the company, where we take costs out. Yep. And the third one is it should improve the employee experience by driving productivity. So if it is not meeting any of these three criteria, then probably we are developing a particular IT solution without knowing what is the purpose. So the question that I would ask is, if we are building a solution, why are we building it? What problem is it solving to the end user? And then it rolls up to the business level or a section level or a department level. What is ultimately the use of the IT solution that we are putting in? And if it is not fitting in here, I'll ask myself as to, should we really do it? Most of the times it so happens that the business case will not be able to define very clearly. And in case the simple litmus test is, in case we are not able to define the business case very clearly as to what is the ultimate problem this particular solution is going to solve, we should just pivot it and not do it.
So in addition to understanding the overall story, thinking from the customer perspective, what else IT engineers can do to improve in the area of appreciating the customer pain and tuning in accordingly?
I think the best time spent for an IT engineer is to sitting with the customer, understand exactly what they do on a day-to-day process. And sometimes may not be possible if you're working in an IT setup and then the customer is somewhere else. More often than not, there is always an opportunity for you to see what the end user is going through, what is the process he's following, and in which step he's going to use our IT solutions. So if you don't understand where the IT solution is fitting in, we often develop a solution with so many gaps the user can't use. So I would recommend anyone and everyone who gets into IT solutioning part to understand the customer process first before you build in a solution. It's very easy. You can just observe the user the way they do. This used to be the Six Sigma approach, the lean approach, right? Where you observe everything that's being done, draw the VSM, and then plan where you need to really take out the non-value added work. That's where you need to digitize.
So Sai, while the engineers spend more time with the customer in understanding their pains and accordingly come up with a solution, the interaction with the customer actually is in twofold, right? One is the customer experience that we talked about. Another thing that recently we are hearing is about this customer excellence. What is the primary difference between both of these?
See, customer experience is all about how they feel about what they get when they use our IT systems. Customer excellence is about proactively thinking through what the customer wants even before they ask us. I'll give you some of the examples in the predictive technologies world that we are in right now. Now, our IT system that we have, there are three ways of using IT automations in the machine learning or the data mining algorithms. We can define smart automations where, because of the advent of data and the different algorithms that we have, now how do we really use these algorithms to build smart automations where we can contemporize, take away routine activities, digitize them and all that using smart automation. The other area where we can impressively implement this is in providing strategic insights. For example, finding the right window where we need to apply some patches in hundreds of machines at the same time. How can an algorithm give us the strategic insight as to what is the right window for us to do? and some of the change planning activities that we plan, what is the right timing, because there are so many things happening in parallel. And the third one category that I think is in predictive analytics. Can we predict that something is going to happen in future based on the data that we already have in our hand? So there are many categories where we can use data to make customers' life easy even before the customer asks us that some problem is going to happen. Because as an IT team, we have an end-to-end visibility into the entire business process. That's what we need to really count on, take advantage of, and be ahead of what the customer thinks in providing the solution. That's what drives towards customer excellence from an experience. Today we are giving customer experience, right? I don't think anyone has any insight. You still have a call center number that you can call to. You can always say I had a good experience or a bad experience. But can we get to a state where the customer knows exactly that this is going to happen to his or her system in advance based on what we already know about the customer 360? So things like that will drive to the customer excellence, and that's the major difference that we are getting into.
So what can people do or organizations do in order to achieve customer excellence, Sai?
See, I think in the digital transformation era, every company that we talk about, every company that has made up a good name in the industry, are striving towards customer excellence. When we talk about their digital transformation technologies that they're using, the entire methodology is itself in 3 different streams, I would say, where we are in parallel, we are going through 4 streams when we are talking about modernization or digital transformation. One is the architecture transformation, where we are moving from a monolithic architecture to a microservice architecture. Some of us are transitioning from monolithic to an SOA-based to a microservices-based architecture. And so why we are doing it? Again, to make sure that the customer experience or customer excellence is achieved. At the same time, when it is translated to an infrastructure transformation, from a physical servers on-prem, we have graduated ourselves, the entire industry has graduated ourselves to a virtual machining kind of concept. And now we are also moving to cloud, which can support the microservices architecture in a much more easier way. And the third stream that we all are familiar with is our delivery stream, where we used to have waterfall type of SDLC lifecycle, and then we moved to agile way of working. We have now mastered DevOps, and most of the organizations are adopting DevOps as the way of doing work. And unless we are on DevOps and cloud, microservices is not possible. And these are the kind of different hybrid models that we are looking at in the transformation, from an architecture to infrastructure to delivery. And supporting all the 3 comes our support model. So this is where IT teams that we have seen on the call center based support to chatbots to now self-service to product predictive service that we're going to get. So these are all interlinked with each other, and every organization is doing it, especially the service industry that we see in IT. Most of them have specialized COEs to deal with each of these technologies and the way we are working on. And what used to be the model of a waterfall or an agile, slowly we are seeing that is vanishing and everyone is moving towards DevOps.
Sai, changing gears from the delivery standpoint, from young professionals and students standpoint, what will be your advice for them who aspire to have this customer-centric mindset? Where should they start?
The first place I would say is to come out of the academic mindset and then start wearing the hat of an industry mindset. Because what we learn in theory in our colleges is totally different from what we actually see in practice. I'm not saying it is right or wrong, but it's different. So how do we inculcate some of the industry practices in the academics? I'll give you some examples of where we have tie-up with some of the universities where we start giving industry projects to them. Any technology that we would like to try out, we tie up with them and then give them as prototypes where they can start building the prototypes and then see if this thing works in the industry. That gears them up to understand what is the reality outside and where the subjects they're learning in the academics can be actually used in the industry. The second thing is about the data-oriented approach in everything that we do, and the process-oriented approach in everything that we do. I come from a Six Sigma background, so we always used to think about, what is the process? Is the process stable enough? And is the process meeting the expectations of providing their stability? And are we measuring the process and making the right interceptions at the right time to know that we are going in the right direction? So the process-oriented approach backed with the data is the kind of culture probably the youngsters need to inculcate to bring in the discipline of understanding the business problem. Because once it is drawn, documented, that's where everyone sees the problem in the same way. If you just talk and build user documentation and FRD, like the requirements documentation, in the way that we want, it might or might not really result in the best results. So have a single point of view, make sure you, customer, and everyone who's working on a particular solution sees the problem in the right frame and then start working on the problem. And we have seen that even in some of the college curriculums now, there is a DevOps curriculum in academics where people understand why DevOps is important, why we are even trying to do this, etc. Some source code management, there are specialized softwares. We also know that now there's application monitoring has become the state of the art, where people can remotely monitor any application sitting anywhere. Even when we talk about an IT and an OT integration that's coming up very high with edge computing. So though we are studying this, it makes sense for us to start bringing the awareness into the educational institutions on what these technologies are.
Yeah, absolutely, Sai. There is a huge difference in the way academic institutes used to operate a decade ago versus what they are doing today. They are trying to bridge the gap between the industry and academy, so which is good for the students, and students have to make best utilization of it. So Sai, I have a different question now that you have rose up to the rank of a CTO, right? So how does a day in your life as a chief technology officer look like? So can you share some insights to the audience?
Sure. See, though we have, we can call it any title that we want, ultimately we are all striving towards solving a problem for the customer. Mm-hmm. And when I look at, my day starts in evaluating the different alternatives and the technology solutions that we bring in. And the very question I ask is, everything that I am reviewing or architecting, is it solving a business problem, or are we just making the life complex for our end users by introducing this step? My major time of my day goes in questioning myself and my teams in, are we simplifying an existing process or are we adding complexity? And I also believe in empowering teams so that they can make their own decisions in arriving at a solution. We can fail, but we need to just fail fast so that we can try out various alternatives. And that's where most of my time goes in. And predominantly in this era of internet, and then where information is available so abundantly, including some of the cutting edge research that is happening in the technology sectors, people need to keep abreast of the technology and what's happening. And that's also some of my day's job, is to make sure I keep myself aware of what's happening around us in various technologies, so that we don't make any wrong choice in picking a technology that is not yet stable and then invest a lot of money and then pivot it later. So it's about decision making with the data available and taking those risks is what I think every CXO does in their day-to-day job, and it's nothing different for me as well.
Sure, Sai. Those are really insightful. And what are your favorite books that change your mindset?
I think there are quite a few. At least in the GE days, we used to have most of the Jack Welch's book, and I think everyone had a favorite copy of that. And then what I believe in is a lot of TED Talks. I am a good reader, but I only read select chapters in all the books. I'm very bad in completing the entire book. I always pick the chapters that I want. But I'm an avid listener to these TED Talks, not because of the way they are conducted or anything, because of the topics that they choose. Some of them are relevant, and then they talk about the experience. So there's an emotion attached to every talk. There's an experience that they narrate, and it also connects well with the audience. And that's where a lot of ideas come in. That's my starting point to see what topic really interests. And then I spend a lot of time in reading a lot of technology books. And the true north is to the new normal, the true north. These are the ones, and the goal is one that has inspired me a lot in the recent times.
Thank you for sharing those titles, Sai.
No problem.
Sai, thank you so much for accepting our invitation despite your other commitments. It was indeed a great conversation on looking at how to see the problems through customers' eyes and how we should be geared up to ensure the current theme of keeping the customer at the center.
Hey, thank you. I think great series. I hope this will be really helpful for some of the budding IT professionals and otherwise.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Sai. Thanks for amazing support.
Thanks. All the best.
Dear listeners, to know more about our speaker and the content, visit or follow us on social media or feel free to email us and we will be happy to share further details with you.
All right. So it brings us to the trivia segment of today's episode. And today's trivia is about most widely used symbol after the @ and that is hash. The hashtag symbol is technically called as octothorpe. According to Merriam-Webster dictionary, the octo prefix refers to the 8 points on the popular symbol, but the thorpe remains a mystery. One theory claims that it comes from the Old English word for village, based on the idea that the symbol looks like a village surrounded by 8 fields. Interesting, isn't it? Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful day. Take care. Be safe.